At first glance, Iran looks like just another country in the Middle East. But switch to an elevation map and something unusual appears. Iran isn't surrounded by open land, it's surrounded by walls. Mountains, deserts, and enormous distance. Geography turned Iran into one of the hardest places on Earth to invade. For thousands of years, powerful empires have looked at Iran on a map and assumed conquering it would be straightforward. Many of them learned the same lesson the hard way. The land itself fights back. Iran's geography creates four major obstacles for anyone trying to cross it: mountain walls, hostile deserts, enormous distance, and very few usable routes. And once you see how those pieces fit together, Iran starts to look less like a country and more like a fortress built by nature. To understand Iran's geography, the first thing you need to do is forget the flat, open image that comes to mind when you think of the Middle East. Iran is something else entirely. It sits on a high central plateau, elevated, arid, and enormous. Surrounding that plateau on nearly every side are some of the most formidable natural barriers on Earth. And cutting through the interior are two of the world's most hostile deserts. The key factors are four: mountain barriers to the west and north, vast deserts at the center, enormous territory that creates distance, and very few usable invasion routes. Let's take each one in turn. Start in the west. If you were approaching Iran from what is today Iraq, the first thing you would encounter is the Zagros Mountains, a massive chain that runs roughly 1,500 kilometers from northwest to southeast, forming a wall along Iran's western edge. These are not gentle hills. The Zagros rise steeply, with peaks regularly exceeding 3,000 meters. The range is layered, ridge after ridge, valley after valley, meaning that crossing it is not a single challenge, but a repeated one. Every time an army crested one ridge, another waited on the other side. Imagine trying to move thousands of vehicles, supplies, and personnel through narrow mountain passes, one column at a time, while the terrain funnels you into predictable choke points. The mountains don't need to fight. They just make everything slower, harder, and more expensive. Now look north. Along Iran's northern edge runs the Alborz mountain range, separating the interior plateau from the Caspian Sea coast. The Alborz are even more dramatic in places. Mount Damavand, a dormant volcano in this range, is the highest peak in the Middle East at over 5,600 meters. This northern wall effectively closes off easy access from the Caspian direction. Together, the Zagros and Alborz form a natural perimeter that wraps around much of the Iranian plateau. Any force trying to enter must pass through or over one of them, and that passage is never simple. Now suppose an army somehow manages to cross the mountains. What do they find on the other side? Two of the most inhospitable deserts in the world. The Dasht-e Kavir, sometimes called the Great Salt Desert, sits in the north-central part of Iran. It covers roughly 77,000 square kilometers. The surface is a treacherous mix of salt crusts, soft mud, and dry lakes that can swallow equipment whole. Temperatures swing from brutal heat in summer to freezing cold in winter. There is almost no water. Further southeast lies the Dasht-e, the Desert of Emptiness. Surface temperatures here are among the highest ever recorded on the planet. It stretches for hundreds of kilometers with no reliable water and almost no vegetation. These deserts don't just make travel uncomfortable, they make logistics nearly impossible. Any large force operating in or near these regions faces a constant, nagging question. Where does the food come from? Where does the water come from? How do you maintain supply lines across hundreds of kilometers of salt flat? Historically, this is where many invading forces began to unravel, not from enemy fire, but from the land's quiet refusal to support them. There's another factor that maps reveal when you zoom out. Iran is very large. It covers roughly 1.6 million square kilometers, larger than Western Europe. This matters because of what strategists call strategic depth. Simply put, even if an enemy force crosses the border, they still have a long way to go. Iran's major cities, Tehran in the north, Isfahan in the center, Shiraz in the south, are spread across the plateau, separated from the borders and from each other by significant distances and difficult terrain. There is no obvious target sitting conveniently near the border. The size of the country multiplies every other geographic problem. More distance means more supply lines. More supply lines mean more vulnerability. And stretched campaigns have a way of breaking armies. All of this geography funnels invaders into a small number of usable paths, and each one comes with serious complications. From the west, through what is today Iraq, forces must cross the Zagros passes. This was the most historically common route, and even here, the mountains dictate where armies can travel and how fast. From the north, through the Caucasus region, an invader faces the combined obstacle of the Alborz range and the narrow, mountainous corridors between the Caspian Sea and the highlands. From the east, through Central Asia, the approach is long and crosses some of the most remote and arid terrain in the world before even reaching Iran's borders. There is no easy road in. Every direction offers the same answer: distance, elevation, and desert. None of this made Iran impossible to conquer. History is clear on that. The Macedonian campaign under Alexander reached Persia. The Mongols in the 13th century pushed through with devastating force, and they represent one of history's most powerful examples of what it takes to overcome these geographic obstacles: enormous numbers and a willingness to absorb enormous costs. But notice what that tells us. Even the Mongols, perhaps the most formidable land force in history, found the conquest costly and difficult. For most powers throughout history, Iran's geography set the price of invasion very high. High enough that many campaigns were abandoned or never seriously attempted. Geography didn't make Iran invincible, it made conquest rare and expensive. Here's the broader lesson. Geography doesn't write history by itself. Human decisions, leadership, technology, economics, all of these matter enormously. But geography shapes what is possible. It sets the terrain on which every other factor plays out. The Zagros and Alborz ranges slow movement and channel it into choke points. The two great deserts punish logistics and exhaust supply lines. The sheer scale of the country turns every border crossing into the beginning of a much longer journey. And the limited routes ensure that there are no easy answers. Long before modern borders were drawn, geography was already doing this work. The mountains didn't choose a side. The deserts had no allegiance. But together, they created a set of conditions that has quietly shaped Iran's fate for thousands of years. That's what geography does. It shapes what is possible. And in Iran's case, it has been doing exactly that for a very long time. That's the geography effect. If you found this interesting, subscribe for more. The map of the world has a great deal more to say.